Hmm.
There you go.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Clark, and this is Tessa over here.
Hey, guys.
Over here. That's Tessa. Tessa is the creative director at Reverb. We are really excited to have her on our last webinar. We're going to introduce you to another guest here in a minute. I say the last webinar like this is the last one. This is not the last one.
Last in this series.
Last in this
series. We got more coming for you.
We do have more coming for you. So this is the last part of our event survival series where we have been unpacking how do you keep your event afloat in a year that is just dizzying. It has been a really, really, really crazy year in so many ways. Tessa has weathered the storm with us. And we've just started traveling again. William is actually on a flight right now, on an airplane.
That's why I'm here.
That's why. No. I wanted to have Tessa on this for a while. I'm glad she said yes to the invitation. We are actually flying today. She's flying on a flight, and I'm flying on a flight. Which it's been 6 months before we get started here. It's been 6 months since I've flown, and now all of a sudden I've got 4 or 5 flights in a couple of weeks, and a little bit of very strange. A little free information. What we did last week is we drove to Chicago and we flew back. What is up, Nicole? Listen, you're one of our favorites too. We are starting to fly more. It's not as scary as I thought it was. And as you start to get back into maybe flying, if you're a traveler, I will say this. It felt pretty safe. The airline we were on, which is Delta.
Go Delta.
I don't know. Go Delta. Delta for life.
Biggest fans.
Biggest fans. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to get a rabbit trail here. Okay, I did send the CEO of Delta an Instagram personal DM the other day, thanking him for the great team he has. So it's not as bad. It's not as scary. But we're not here to talk about airlines and flying unless you're flying to an event. We're here to talk about virtual events, and we got to get right to this. We are going to bring on, honestly, one of our mentors, one of our friends, a crazy man, a brilliant man, a runaholic. I don't even know if runaholic is the right word.
He runs a lot.
He runs a lot. This guy just ran 314 miles over like a 3-day period. Okay, it was further than, it was longer than that. It was longer than that. Yes. We'll let him tell that. But
this
Tessa,
is
you wanna
the
bring
one and only Jeff Sawyer. There he is, y'all. All right, we're gonna bring him in. I've been holding on to that for years.
That's been around for a while, so I'm glad to see it resurfaced again. That was I consider that a dab of endearment, so a gif of endearment.
Oh yeah, hold on to it for special occasions.
Way to use big words for us this morning, Dr. Jeff Sawyer. Yes. I think I was wrong on the 314 miles in 3 days, but you ran 314 miles 2 weeks ago, I think. Tell us real quick. That's huge.
So it was called the last annual Vol Stake 500K. So it's 314 miles across Tennessee. It's the 15th time it's actually been run, and we actually finished. A good friend of mine, Dwayne Golf, and I finished in 8 days, 11 hours, in 49 minutes. So we got under the 8.5 days. It was grueling. It was not a whole lot of running. It was a whole lot of walking, and a whole lot of pain, but we finished it and it was good.
Go you.
in the middle of Southeast or Tennessee, hot. Like, could you have possibly done it any other time?
No, the race happens then, and it's because the guy that puts it on is famous for doing the Barclays marathons, which has had a documentary on Netflix for a long time. It's on YouTube now, but he says it's the best week to not get hypothermia in Tennessee. So it's kind of an ongoing joke. But when we did hit heat indexes of 118, 110, and then the road temperature was much higher than that. So my shoes literally melted underneath me. So it was good.
Sounds awful. Well, I want you to bring the heat. I want you to bring the heat of your knowledge and your wisdom to this webinar today, because we invited you because the people we've invited on this webinar series so far have been people that have been super, super influential in our lives. And you have Taylor Jones, you have Wes Gay, you have yourself, people that have really, really made a big impact on the direction of our company and honestly how we've made it through this year. Each of those 3 people that I just mentioned They significantly contributed to our confidence, to our navigation skills through a really, really, really hard year that's not over yet. Jeff, before I'm going to tell everyone to do something. I know you may have seen, you can text your questions to the phone number on the screen. You can put your questions in the comments. You can add them on Facebook. I don't care where you put them. Send us your questions because today's a live. Send them to us. We have about, I don't know, 7 or 8 questions that we're going to cover today. But if you have questions about virtual events, how do you pivot in 2020? How do you survive? How do you keep your event afloat? So go ahead and start sending them to us because we will probably include a couple of them. But Jeff, real quick, tell us what your background is and what you currently do for the prestigious university in which you are employed.
I wasn't enrolled at one point too. So I am the director. I'm the director of media services at Lee University. My background is in video production mainly. And then I have recently done more narrative and documentary filmmaking as a producer and some directing. And so right now I lead a team at Lee of about 20 students and 4 staff that create content for everything from live stream to social media to internal communication, marketing, and advertising. And we kind of run around all over the place doing things. That's what we've been doing for years. Tessa was on my team. Will was on my team.
Yep. Half of Reverb was on Jeff's team
Clark,
first.
you're too old to be on my team, but we have worked together over the years for several years.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, even before I was a director, Clark and I worked on a couple of projects, and so that's what I'm doing here at Lee right now. And we're getting ready to reopen next week, and we've had a lot of internal communication going on with our faculty and staff. We had a faculty and staff meeting. We live streamed this morning and using Zoom, and so we're doing a lot of different things in this virtual world. We kind of had to just thrust ourselves into it, just like everybody else.
Amazing. Well, you have led well, and we're going to ask you to continue guiding us. And you actually at the end, Tessa, let's make sure we remember to point people back to how they can see the other webinars. But let's get into questions. If you have questions other than Mitchell Hartley, who has already commented.
Don't accept questions from him.
No.
All right.
Old team members.
Of course.
Go.
We love Mitchell. All right. We're going to start off with our first question here. How do you guys make me actually feel like I'm there at the event through social media? Clark, run with it.
So this is the #1 question we get, or the #1 statement, depending on how it is said, in 5 years of doing this. I've never told anyone this. This is probably the first time I've publicly said or talked about this idea of how do you make me feel like I'm there? Because I felt like I was there, Clark, and I was just watching on Instagram. And it's been the most consistent thing that I've ever heard. People don't say your video is great, your photo, people do say that, but people specifically say, how do you make me feel like I'm there? And I think the #1 way we do that is through human connection. And that sounds so lofty and so philosophical, but many times videos just live too high or too low to the ground, and people just don't care about them. Photos, they just don't feel a connection. And when we go to an event, whether it's virtual or in person, one of the things we try to do is to make it as compelling to the human heart as possible. And that's not a manipulation thing. That is, hey, there's a great divide between the screen that you're watching this and me in this room. But if I can somehow use the words, the tone, the facial expressions, and capture them in a way that makes you go, man, I just want to hang out with Clark and Jeff and Tessa. That is the way you bridge that gap. And so when we go to StoryBrand, or we go to the SEC, or we go to, we were at GLN, Global Leadership Summit in Chicago last week. One of the key things we're trying to do is take the distance from that speaker or that athlete or that presenter or author. Take that distance that is through that phone. There's a big, huge distance right here. We want to shorten the distance so that you feel like you could talk to Donald Miller. So you feel like you could talk to Joe Burrow, the LSU quarterback, Hall of Fame, not Hall of Fame, but Heisman Trophy winner. So you feel like you can talk to Craig Groeschel or Sadie Robertson Huff. Like those are the things we try to do at an event. And does every piece of content do that? No. But does the best content we produce do that? Yes. And so that is my short answer. I don't know how to replicate it, which is the problem. But Jeff, you've had an outside view to what we're doing, and you also have to do it with thousands of followers at the university. You've seen sports brands do these things. What do you think makes people feel like they are present when they're just watching on their phone?
So it's an emotional gratification. So our generation, because of social media, is looking for an instant gratification. And that's a good thing, because you got it right at your fingertips. You can get to whatever you want. You can get questions answered. You can research things. You can be entertained. But people want to be gratified in their spirit or in their emotions with what's going on outside of where they are. And so if you can provide that emotional connection between the subject and the viewer, and putting that creative in between, so that could be good aesthetics, that could be the music and the beat. It can be, there's a lot of different things that connect us emotionally to what we're seeing or what we're hearing. And so when you do that, that's when people kind of jump in. There's nothing new about it. I mean, it just happens to happen in real time. Movies do this for us, right? We have an emotional connection with the character. And this is kind of the story brand thing. Like we have an emotional connection with a character. We want to follow their journey. Well, when we're on social doing things, we are presenting them with characters, and we're presenting them with a way to connect. How do I want to be that person or be like that person? What decisions would I make in the situation? I want to be there because that place seems like it can satisfy a need that I have. So I want a need for connection with people, a community, with the lessons of leadership, with the fandom of sports. These things that you guys give an inside look to, and we try to do here, is to try to compel people that this is a cool place, or that this is a cool event, or that these people are really engaging. And when you do that, that satisfies something emotionally. And so people are going to feel more connected to what they're seeing on the screen than if they're just watching an advertisement, or if they're watching, the news. There's not an emotional gratification that goes along with that, but there is if you go to an event and you have this really kind of, I don't know, a lot of it has to do with the emotions that you capture. I know you guys really focus on that with photography and video, trying to capture the emotions of the people. That translates to the screen.
Yeah, you brought up a great point that I haven't really personally unpacked, but it makes logic, so I'm going to present it here. It makes some sense. And it's that if we could document, and I see this happen all the time at other events using social media, and they just document what's happening. But I don't feel like I'm close to a person or a guide or a character. And I think the word character is the best point that you've brought up there, is you can document what you're doing all day long. But if I can't follow a character on a journey, and an example is last week at Global Leadership Summit, we were able to get super close to some very prominent voices in this tribe, in this organization. Once Craig Rochelle, Sadie Robertson, Rory Vaden, who else was there? There was a couple of Mike Todd.
You're such a name dropper.
No, I'm not a name dropper. My point is,
he really isn't though.
I'm really not. The point is, the closer we got the camera and the story to their relaxed, behind the scenes fun state, the more views we got. And we looked back at the analytics from the year before. It was extraordinary, with that subtle twist. If we show not a performed talk, just like I can be Sadie's friend or Craig's friend. I can't show publicly the analytics, but I will tell you this: they weren't small increases, they weren't medium increases, they were astronomical increases by making the character real to the audience on social media.
So the event, though, I know Tessa's trying to move to the next question, but the event then becomes the story. And so the event is going to have its own arc as the character's arc. So if you can approach the event as you're telling a story of the day or the weekend or whatever it is, then you're going to engage, and the behind the scenes, or that kind of emotional connection you get with the characters, goes along. And as the event kind of crescendos, then you're going to get more viewers, more people in, and they're going to be engaged with the content you're making. Even if you don't get more, the people that you do have are going to stick with you longer.
It's good. It's good. Tessa, I'm going to let you
Very
take it
good.
because I want
Ready for the
to. I
next
want to
one?
talk more about it. Yeah, go.
All right, next question. Do you plan everything out on social at events, or do you follow the story? Jeff, you want to take this?
Yeah, it's both. And that's I mean, it still seems like a cop-out answer, but it's not. I mean, we do an extensive schedule of what we want to do, and then we do some creative work behind the scenes, like, okay, this happens here, but we need to promote it here, and we want to do this here. We would know we want to include these characters or these hosts in this. So we'll plan out the entire event, but we leave a lot of room for just kind of riffing on what's going on. Like, is there a story that's going to emerge from what we're doing? Is there a person or a thing? So we've done this a couple of times where we'll just go take a cell phone and go shoot some stuff live. Clark did this a couple of times, and he would shoot like the voices of Lee here at Lee's, one of our premier choirs. He just went out with a cell phone while they were performing, and we were doing a live stream, so we had the produced piece going. He takes this raw phone just down into the stage area and shooting him, and it got more engagement than a lot of the other stuff that we were making, because he called an audible at that point. He's like, hey, we need to put this in a different platform where people can consume it in its raw form rather than its overly produced form. Well, that's not planned, but that's something that worked out really well, and we did that a couple years ago, and then it turned into this and this and this. So we always leave room for spontaneity. We leave room for the random to kind of come in and become part of the strategy. So you can allow the story, you can allow your schedule to dictate everything you do and lose your flexibility, but then your audience wants the little things that pop up to be seen. And then when you see what works, you just go with it. You push it even more. And you keep Clark wants in, and then you keep the strategy going as well.
I want to give you praise for the 2 words you came up with earlier. You just said them, but you said them in like 2 sentences. So what are the 2 words you said when it comes to this whole planning thing and flexibility? You said
strategy,
strategic,
yeah,
flexibility.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole,
That's it.
What it is.
That's been the whole pandemic. That's been every event we did before then is have a strategy, have a plan, have the crew, have the people, know what you got to get, and then be prepared to go get something else, or to tell a story, or to linger somewhere a little longer than you had planned on it, because that's what the audience wants. That's what you're getting a lot of feedback from.
I want to pitch this to Tessa real quick and set it up in this way. Like Tessa and I are really great counterbalances when it comes to events, because I lean into the let's go, like the 7 on the Enneagram, and Tessa's like, whoa, hold on. And the strategic flexibility is such an important word, because when it comes to the storylines and the narratives, like, you can't plan those out. When we just went to like global leadership last week, there were some things we did on social that worked extraordinarily well, that were like, we came up with them in like 15 to 20 minutes. Like in the middle of the event, we were like, hey, this happened, so let's do this. But you can't just only do that. You have to plan it out. And that really comes down to creative. And I'm going to let Tessa take it as a creative director at Reverb. What happens when it comes to, why is it so important that you plan out creative?
Well, the thing is, if you walk into an event having planned things, that leaves room for spontaneity. So I come in with templates for graphic quotes. I already have a general idea of what's going to be posted, because we've done this multiple times. We've worked with these clients. We understand the rhythm of their events. So you can have holes for where you think things should go. But when you have those things planned that you know for a fact are going to happen, or there's a high likelihood of happening, then that leaves room for you to not be panicking over something.
That's
Instead,
right.
you have the creativity to dive into whatever idea Clark has, or something fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that is
some things
so
don't
good.
But sometimes the plan just doesn't work. Like parts of the plan
sometimes
won't
you
work.
just throw the plan out the window.
And you're like, whoa, this isn't working for us. Like, it's not working with our workflow. It's not working with the story. Something's changed in the event. So being flexible even beyond the plan. So being willing to throw the plan out, or at least throw pieces of the plan out, is extremely important when you're doing live, when you're trying to do something live or virtual, where there's nobody in the room. So it's hard to read a room when there's nobody there. So you're
Yep.
reading the
Yeah.
socials. And so sometimes the plan just doesn't work because what you thought people were going to engage with, they just don't.
Yeah. I think a plan
Tess-
allows you to walk into an event with peace and without anxiety, so that whenever a curveball gets thrown your way, you're not already maxed out. That's kind of how I look at it, is I walk in with peace because I have a plan, which then leaves me room whenever that plan goes awry.
So everyone that's watching now, live or later, y'all just heard Tessa drop some legit wisdom that I hadn't even really unpacked or unraveled in the way she just did, because that's a leadership principle. That's not just technical media. That is margin creates freedom. One of our favorite communicators, mine, Andy Stanley, has preached it for years. You have to have margin in your life, in your work, in your family, like whatever it is, you have to have margin. When you have margin, when you have room, it allows you to expand and be free. And Tessa, I thought Jeff was bringing the heat today, but that was so good. That margin and flexibility, well, flexibility comes from discipline and the right restrictions. And I want to like tie a knot on it if I can with this. And if you guys have anything to add, you can. There are so many things that you need to plan when it comes to event media, okay? And helping your event survive. I know we're kind of talking about secondary content a lot today, but there are so many consistent things, rhythms and cadences and algorithms and Tessa was talking about templates or graphics that you need to plan. I mean, like hundreds you could plan. Those are important. Like how many times you're going to post an IGTV versus Instagram story versus the grid. Like you need to plan out a lot of stuff. But if you do it before the event, it allows you to tell better stories. And that is her whole point. I absolutely knocked it out of the park. Honestly, if you're watching this webinar, what she just said was probably worth the whole thing. It was free, but there you go. All right.
Worth your time.
It's worth your time. That's right.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. All right. How do you still do on-site social content like you did last week in Chicago during a pandemic? Clark, that's a you question. You mask up.
I just knocked my oh goodness, my hand sanitizer off the table here. So if you have an event and you need to virtualize it and you want to do this fun behind the scenes stuff, there's a couple ways you can do it. We've done 2 events this month or in the last month that we had to like go on site and be around people. The talent of the event, both of the events we went to, most of the talent, whether they were just tested or whatever, for whatever reasons, they were not masked up much. But we were masked up almost all the time at both events we went to for safety, obviously for safety reasons. And like we talked about in one of the earlier webinars, you might show up at an event and somebody was exposed the day before or tested positive the day before and everything could fall apart. That's the big risk of having a live event. And even if you're virtualizing it, that's the big risk if you produce everything live, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But we go into it with masks. It was a lot of fun last week in Chicago because we actually worked outside. It wasn't too hot. It got a little hot there around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it was nice. But it felt comfortable. We could take our masks off if no one was around.
Masks, social distancing, outside. All the logistics were there.
The logistics were there. And that's one of the big ways to do it. You just have to use your brain, use common sense, follow the local rules and regulations. The masks, according to many experts, are believed to be fairly reasonably preventative. So wear your masks, be outside if possible, do as much outdoor as you can, because that's just the safest place. That's what I would say about having virtual events. Jeff, Tessa, you got anything?
Yeah, we keep our circle small. So whatever the production is, we keep it really small. So the people who are working tightly with each other, we make sure everybody understands that they have a responsibility to everybody else in the circle. And our talent don't wear masks either, but we always do around them, and they do up until the point where they're not talent anymore. That's kind of how we deal with it. And we keep our distance. We go above and beyond what's required, and make sure that our team mirrors within our team. We demonstrate it to the people that we're working with and for, and say, this is kind of our desire to work this way. Please help us work this way too. And people will follow you. I mean, it's a leadership thing, and you just kind of be an example. And our team knows, and we're getting ready to welcome a bunch of students back. And we're having a big seminar on Thursday. We're going to mix it up between Zoom and in person. We've split up this huge room, and we're laying out all our procedures for anything live that we do or anything in the studio we do, because there's people around. So yeah, you just got to be careful and communicate expectations, and then demonstrate that you are conforming to your own expectations.
That's good.
Clarity and follow through.
Yep.
Right there. All right. Next question.
Yeah. Let's go
still
on.
got some? All
No,
right.
I mean, we'll follow up later.
How do you share files with team members in real time fast? This one's for me. The answer is AirDrop.
Yes.
Our team all has Apple products, so that's kind of our easiest option. Our secondary option and how we deliver to clients is we use SmugMug, or we use Google Drive, in which case everybody's uploading to those links, and then we're texting each other when something has gone live. But AirDrop is like our first line of defense there. That's my answer. Yep. SmugMug.
SmugMug.
Right there.
Is amazing.
Love SmugMug. It's a gallery program. We use it for literally everything. We love it. But that was a quick question.
Well, I'm going to throw this out there. The hardest thing about real time and speed is probably video. And it's easy to throw back and forth. Jeff's got what is that, from 1995? A hard drive?
Oh, it's a Lacey hard drive.
Where's mine?
I got multiple. If I open my drawer right here, I have like 13 of these bad boys in here.
Oh yeah,
so.
I got a whole bunch in this apartment. Yeah, so we edit all off of hard drives.
We have a unique system where we have these little. I wish we had a picture of it. We have these cups or these pieces of tape on a table, and we put in and out cards. Yeah, with the cards.
Yeah. So if I'm shooting, so this is bigger for video than for photo. If I'm shooting for video, I would come in and I would lay down a card. We have two different slots, one that says in, one that says out. They'd lay down a card. Then whenever the editor has dumped it, they'd put it in the other slot. The editor would know it's free and they'd take it. So that's the other thing, is like having systems for dumping and receiving stuff that way makes it smooth.
And file structure already in place when you get there.
Huge.
You know, we love file structure. We talked about it on Instagram lately. Go check it out. We'll give you free stuff.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Go on. Move on.
All right. What is the difference between a live stream and social media real-time content? Good question.
We touched on this earlier already. Who is it?
Go, Jeff.
Go.
Okay. So live stream is more produced, real-time, can be multi-camera. It is the event, right? It is the speaker. This is the way we approach it. It's the speaker. It's the whatever's going on stage or in the studio. And then the real-time social is more behind the scenes or outside of that moment. And it gives you a look back at what's going on behind the scenes, although you may be capturing what's going on in real time on the stage. So it gives you, live stream gives you a live look of what is happening. And it becomes the primary piece of content a lot of times. In a lot of virtual events, it's the primary piece of content. And then everything else kind of supplements and circles up around that. Maybe you got a different opinion, Clark?
No, I mean, the way I described it last week, I keep going back to last week, but it's the most recent example. So I guess you would say what you just described, what's on the stage is the live stream. It's the fully produced. It's what people are paying to watch kind of thing. And I described it to global leadership as, guess what? It's a virtual event. And so every 30 seconds, what are your viewers doing? They're picking up their phone and they're doing this. And if I was a betting man, which every once in a while I am, but not often, I bet that 95, maybe 99% of you have picked up your phone during this webinar, and you have looked up something, you've messaged somebody, you've responded to somebody. And so the idea for us often when we're talking about, like, why do you need this secondary real-time social media? And my answer is often, hey, when your viewer looks down at their phone and they're maybe bored for 30 seconds and they swipe on their phone and they go over to Instagram and they click Instagram, and then all of a sudden the first thing is the Global Leadership Summit or Lee University.
Greg Rochelle.
Greg Rochelle. You have, it's called second screen viewing when it comes to TV. It's okay. During the commercials, I need to be creating content or pushing content so that, not that everybody watches commercials, but if you don't have paid, some platforms, you still get commercials. That's the idea, is when they look down at their phone, you show up in their feed.
You want to be everywhere.
It also, second screen will drive people to your primary feed too. So if they follow you and you are showing that you're doing an event, they don't want to, they get a little FOMO. They don't want to miss out on what's going on over here, especially if it's a free, if it's not something that they've had to register ahead of time. So it just connects. It's a, you know, it's a content ecosystem. So you're connecting each other from web to phone to whatever your live stream, whatever you're delivering on your platform.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Jeff, because that's probably the second and sometimes the most important thing we talk about with clients when going into an event is if there's any way that their friends that are at home that aren't participating in the event might be like, oh, I need to be at that next Story Brand event. Oh, I need to be at, what is the GLN? I can still register today. That FOMO, that pique your curiosity. Why is Sadie Robertson and Craig Rochelle playing putt-putt golf? What are they at? What are they doing?
Right.
It leads them to the purchase or to the participation.
Well, and for us, we want to, with lack of a better phrase, we want to leverage the accounts of the people who like us to extend our reach to people who we think might like us. So if we got a prospective student that loves Lee and we put out a piece of content that they share, then we benefit from their network of similarly aged and grouped people to engage with that content. And so even then it becomes a brand awareness thing. So that's even further down the line. Even if you're doing an ask in your event, you get brand awareness from the social, the real-time social that comes out of the event. And then hopefully that'll trickle into an actual a matriculant to your event. So they'll want to come and be a part of it next to it.
Do we have a statement or a question from William J. Vest right here? Let's take a super quick pause and just acknowledge some of the comments we've gotten.
It's been a total of about 4 hours since I saw him last. So
we miss you too, William. Fallon, man, I hope Nashville's going well. I had a brief text message with her yesterday. We appreciate you so much. Christopher Collins, Dr. Collins, thank you for watching and recommending this to James. And Mitchell, yes, we did start with Jeff talking about running. And finally, Nicole, yes, we are going to see you today. We are all headed to sunny Florida. And did I get all the comments there so far?
I think so, yep.
Yep, awesome. All right, how many more questions do we have?
One more question right there.
Uh-oh.
Can I work for Jeff again?
Work for Jeff again?
Probably.
Hey.
We'll think about it.
You take student worker pay?
I don't know. All right, so we have 2 more questions. If y'all have any more questions, throw them into the comments or text us. That's pinned at the top. So we'll still take more, but we only have 2 right now. So here we go. Pre-record or live for virtual events?
Ooh.
Big question. Jeff, what do you think?
It's both.
You love that answer.
I know, but it is. There's flexibility in both too. So there is danger in a virtual or in real-time social of getting off the rails a little bit, or having a technical problem, or missing something, or whatever. So when you pre-record things, it's not being inauthentic. It is being more intentional about the message that you're trying to put out there. And then you can combine that with the live side of things, which is, it's kind of scary. Live is scary. That's why you hire professionals to do it for you. It's scary to do a live event, but if you can mitigate some of that fear with pre-recording some of your content, then it'll still feel good for your audience, but at the same time, it helps you. Because also, let's talk about how busy a weekend or a week or a day can be with live, and how logistically sometimes it's impossible to cram an entire day of live content one right after the other. It's exhausting. Your team will start faltering. You may miss something. So if you can mix it in and kind of pepper in the live, and you can make pre-recorded stuff feel really live. And it is. I mean, again, you're not losing authenticity because I'm not talking about sitting there and over editing something. I'm saying just pre-record it ahead of time and then push it out live along with your live content.
Yeah, I heard both Nicole and one of the speakers at GLS, they were saying that not like having some of the stuff pre-recorded gave them like space, so they weren't stressed and running around the whole time, which then also allowed them to do some stuff with us on social. But that was one thing that I saw a plus from like a speaker end of things, is not as much, especially if you have one speaker that's going to be talking all day, to like intermingle live and pre-record really allows them to not be worn out by noon.
Yeah, I do remember Nicole saying that, and I heard the same thing at some other virtual events as well. It allows you to focus more on engagement with your fans, because when we do this, like right now we're talking to a little tiny dot on our screen on the internet right now, and it's taxing to focus on that little circle and think about like, what do you look like? How are you being perceived? What am I going to say next? It's a layer of stress that prevents you from truly being able to engage with the fans and the commenters and your paid attendees. And so if you don't have a big enough team to hamper, your engagement is going to suffer, because you're going to be unless you are a unicorn when it comes to speaking and engaging. It's so hard to do both. So I would say, like Will said in the comments, pre-record maybe as much as possible. Do I see William trying to jump into this live stream?
He is.
Oh my! Are we going to allow this, Tessa?
Should we let him in?
Cool things. Listen, he's got a mask on.
Airport William is
I'm
here.
in the show.
Airport William.
Guys, we're back at the Atlanta airport. This is a thing.
Is there anybody there?
There's some people here, but everyone has masks on because it's a requirement now. So we're being good human beings in our society that we've been gifted.
Wow. I'm so glad William has joined us and that the Atlanta airport has fast enough internet. I'm going to say this really quick while William's here. I'm not going to tell you what client. I'm just going to say there's someone that has watched a webinar that after a recent nonprofit webinar decided to restructure their entire virtual event. They were going to do a 2-day live event for like a couple hours a day. And we recommended they pre-record it and spread it out over a couple of days at night rather than 2 days on the weekend. And so it just gave them so much more flexibility, so much more control and fun and engagement. So essentially, they're going to be able to pre-record most of this fun, exciting content and then sit at the computer and engage with the fans that are attending this event. So it's not a one size fits all. That's not the point. And Will says pre-record everything. I would say pre-record almost everything.
I joined simply to say pre-recording helps your team, it helps your stability, and it helps your ability as the person that's participating in the event, the person that would normally be speaking, to be able to engage with people in a new way in the new landscape. Yeah. Live is a very useful tool. We're using live right now. Live's so good, but don't sleep on pre-recording, because it can actually give your viewers and the people producing the event a better experience. I gotta go catch a flight. Bye, guys.
Oh, Will, hold on.
What's up?
We have one question left, and you gotta answer this last question, even if you miss your flight.
Okay.
Yeah, this is kind of your thing.
This is your thing.
What is
it? For live streaming? StreamYard. We're using StreamYard, and I was able to just hop in here because that's how cool StreamYard is. It allows up to 10 people in. You broadcast it to multiple locations. I don't know what we're streaming on right now. I'm assuming Facebook, maybe YouTube. StreamYard is awesome. Gary V.
What other options are out? Gary V uses it. What other options are out there for live before you miss your flight? Real quick.
We've used Restream before. There's some good and bad experiences with Restream. It can be awesome. It can be bad. you can stream directly to your platform. So if you're streaming direct to a location like Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, you can always go direct in. You can really scale things up and down. But if you're looking for a streaming distribution platform, man, we love Livestream. StreamYard. I love
StreamYard.
Also Livestream. That's another option.
All right, go get on your
You
flight.
got options.
We'll let Jeff.
We'll see you later.
Bye all.
Bye.
So that was fun. That was a feature of StreamYard. It was completely unplanned, right? So before Jeff answers it, in the I don't know if I can show you, but I wish I could let you see the I don't know if you can see the dashboard here. Oh yeah, you can. This is using technology in real time. So right down here at the bottom, we were able to see.
I'll just screenshot it.
How about that? We were able to see Will pop in, and we were like, "Hey, there's Will. Should we add him into the into this live stream?" And so that's a cool feature of StreamYard. You get the graphics, you get the comments. It's really cool. Kind of like Zoom, but just has more production. Now, Jeff, tell us what you think about the best platform to use.
So we use streaming a little differently. If we're talking about non-interactive streaming, where we're pushing it more like a broadcast style streaming, we use Livestream, the company, which is now owned by Vimeo too. So Vimeo offers options and Livestream offers options, and it's depending on what level you want to use, and you can connect to Facebook or YouTube or the other platforms. You just can't simultaneously do Facebook and anything else without using something like what Will talked about with Restream. So there are lots of options for live stream. You can do it natively too. Facebook has done a good job of building native streaming through their Creator Studio now. And it's more recent they update it, but they update it so much, it's almost easier just to go through a third party and then hit them. So I like live stream. It is costly and it does get us what we want, but we're using a combination of live stream and Restream. And then, for webinar style where you're doing we've done virtual campus tours and things like that. We've used Zoom, which a lot of people are using. Of course, there is a lot of, there's give and take with all these platforms. None of them are perfect for what you need, but you got to figure out what your event or what your audience will engage with, and then you pick that.
Jeff, can you see Jonathan's?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tessa.
I was going to just show them the back end of StreamYard real quick.
Yeah, let's look at back into StreamYard. Here you go.
Sorry, we're all making weird faces. But you can see comments. You can keep brand elements in here.
Yep.
You can just add people in, and you don't have to sign up for anything in order to get on like you do for Zoom or some of those other ones. Literally, you send a link and your speakers can come in from their phone.
Amazing.
So easy.
That is amazing. Literally from a browser. That's a huge feature of StreamYard. I personally, I was going to say this, we'll get to Jonathan's question here in just a second. I was going to say something about this platform, but I don't remember what it was because Jonathan has a great question. So let's jump over to Jonathan's question.
Jonathan's question. What is more important, the ease of live programs like Zoom or the higher quality of pre-recording? So what do you think?
Okay, let me throw this out there real quick. I do remember what I was going to say now, and it's kind of in relation to this. So if you don't have the budget for pre-recorded content or the capability to bring people into one space, this has been a problem we have faced with some events that we've looked at over the last couple of months. Bringing everybody to a studio may not be the right thing for your company, your organization, your city, for the recommendations, for the legal things. It might not be the best thing to go into a studio to have a live event, which then it's better to pre-record, whether we could pre-record a Zoom call like this and play this live, which we've actually done, I think, 2 times since this webinar series began. But also budget is another big piece of this. If you don't have the budget to set up $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 in cameras for 2 days, then something like this and pre-recording it through Zoom is a great feature. It might sound confusing in how I just articulated that, and I apologize, because you can do a live stream for nothing. I mean, I have a computer and a light. And the same thing, well, Jeff doesn't have a light, but we're
gonna get him a light before the next one.
We're gonna get him a light. So you don't have to have a high budget with either, But if you want to take your virtual event to the next level, it comes down to budget and being in the same room with a lot of people. I guess that's one way of looking at it.
So this is acceptable right now in a global pandemic, like webcams.
That's true.
With a little bit of light,
that's true.
acceptable. People are like, oh yeah, that's the way things go. So if you can sweep that acceptability up into a higher produced or have a higher production quality, then that's going to take you a little further to go. And you can achieve that production quality just by doing a few things that aren't that expensive. It's always best. I mean, we think it's best to hire people that can do it for you, to be safe, but also, or if you have, like we have our own studio, we treat our studio as, you know, a kind of a safety area, and we're able to produce high quality content in that space. And if we can do that and deliver it via live stream or on our social channels for our virtual events, then we do that. But like you said, you can't get everybody in the same room all the time. So we've done a couple of panel discussions where we record the panel discussion on Zoom and then push it out through YouTube or push it out through live stream, or do it live simultaneously, and then take chat and do engagement. So it just depends on what the goal of the piece of content is and how it fits into that strategy. And if you're having to be flexible with some things, where you don't have to be flexible with other things, where you can be a little more rigid. So for example, we shot an interview series to go along with some of our Zoom sessions. The interview series we pre-recorded, and we shot it in 24 frames. It's cinematic, shallow depth of field. It looks gorgeous, and it was an edited kind of piece. It goes in between some Zoom sessions. It actually introduces some Zoom sessions. So people are willing to watch both. And if you can mix it in, then you are keeping their attention than just giving them Zoom or StreamYard or whatever all the time.
Agree. It's good.
Yep.
It's real good. I'm going to throw one last question in here. I'm going to be done. Okay. This is a question that I get asked often, and I know I'm throwing this in there, but what is too long? So I'm going to give you my answer. What is too long when it comes to a virtual event, whether that's social media or your live stream? What is too long? And my answer is simple. There is no too long. There is only too boring. I heard that from some famous guy in Nashville. So what is too long when it comes to virtual events? Amen. There is only too boring. So, and the problem is most events are too boring. Most long events are boring. So that's what you want to think of. You want to think of how great and how compelling is my content. And as William, who is not on he might be on his flight, in all caps, he's screaming at me in the comments. Throw up Will's comment here. Throw up Will's comment. There is no too long, only too boring. That's my opinion that I heard from someone else, and we love that statement. We should make a T-shirt that says that. It's actually a good T-shirt, honestly. Jeff, any thoughts? Tess, any thoughts?
Sometimes information is boring, so you have to be careful. You have to get your information in, but how do you combat boring when you're having to do something a little longer? Production value. So it's a mix, right? It's production value, and will help the information get out there, because you're not always going to have the most. Sometimes your client is not going to be the most talented on camera, and they're going to come across as not well in a virtual event. So how do you combat that? Well, you either change the person, or you help them with production values, including graphics or changing cameras or whatever it might be, to help. That's your job. That's our job as creatives, is to help the client, to help the talent to get the information that needs to be out there and not be boring. And so that puts a little onus on us to get that done.
It's good.
None of the people around here at Lee University are boring.
None.
Nope.
Nope.
Not even a little bit.
No, we're good.
Jeff,
I know
you all
Tessa,
were on the edge of your seat. Will's on his flight.
He's on his flight. And hey, look, that's one of the coolest things about StreamYard, again, is that we can throw the comments up. You don't have to go into a graphic processor and come up with all the things and throw. I mean, you just push one button and it features it on the stream.
There it is.
Ta-da. And Tessa did it. Tessa's producing all of those things while on that stream. Like, she's not sitting over at a table anywhere. She's like right there making it happen. Hey, Dr. Jeff Sawyer, thank you so much. You are such a good friend to us. We appreciate it.
Well, I've always been a fan of Reverb and all the people who worked for me before, besides Clark, that work for Reverb now. No, we love
Good
you
thing you
guys.
still like us.
we have a good partner or relationship with you guys on a lot of different things. And personally, I couldn't be more proud of the people who work with you or you, Clark, and what you guys are doing and the people you're working with and the mission and how missional you are in your strategy. So that's important. You're trying to help people out, and the clients reflect that. And it's not just entertainment; it matters. So I appreciate you guys bringing me on. It makes me feel old and just sitting over here in my desk with all you guys out there doing creative stuff, wearing my suit. But thank you for bringing me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Hey,
maybe one day we'll do an event where we're all wearing suits and you'll feel very, very comfortable.
And then I'll wear a black t-shirt.
Wear a black t-shirt. And
that would be fun.
We cannot wrap this. We cannot wrap this without addressing the one and only Brad Sitton, who is commenting. He is a event guru, expert, extraordinary entertainer with live event games. You need to check out what Brad Sitton is doing. Brad, I know the name of your company, and just because it's slipping my mind right now, I'm going to try to find it. But Brad is a big fan of StreamYard and looking at ways to incorporate it into live event games. Brad, comment the name of your company, because oftentimes he's at some of the big events we're at, and he makes these incredibly fun games for huge crowds. And if he's still there, Brad, I want to throw your company name up there. If not, then we love you. People can Google you. People can find you. Brad Sitton. He's in Atlanta. So appreciate that. Hey, we're out for the day. Tessa has a flight to catch.
I got a flight to catch.
There it is, Brad. Crowdcontrolgames.com. Crowdcontrolgames.com. And Will is right. Brad is a legend. So it's funny. Will is flying. Then Tessa's going to fly behind Will. Then I'm going to fly behind Tessa. It's social distancing, Delta style 2020. Thanks, Daniel Ashworth. Hey, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for checking out the webinar series. Tessa, how can they see the other webinars?
Abby's about to throw it right into our comments, but we have all of these on YouTube. There's a playlist where you can go ahead and hit all 5 of the series and be looking out for the next series. I know y'all are going to super love it, but I'm not going to tell you anything about it yet.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great
adios,
week.
everyone.
Adios.
Bye.